It all comes down to this. It's the Junior Open Final at the 2022 Canadian Ultimate Championships at the VC Showcase Field in beautiful Brampton, Ontario. We have Mofo in dark out of Winnipeg, Manitoba, taking on Vancouver Eclipse in the white jerseys. They're going to be pulling on defense to start. Eclipse yet to drop a game in this tournament, and Mofo, the only game they dropped was in power pools, a 1A versus 1B matchup to the Vancouver side. Theo Wan here with Clay Howlett. Clay, how you feeling right now?
Feeling good, Theo. This is what it's all about. I'm really enjoying the weather today. We're going to get finals going off the way they were intended, so we're going to have lots of spectators, lots of hype, lots of noise, which has me really excited. And Theo, it's interesting you mentioned these teams meeting earlier because you used the term vanilla earlier, and I love that. Teams were keeping it vanilla. You're not doing the Neapolitan. You don't want to show any more flavors. It's just one flavor for the other team. We're probably going to see them later. So now with these two teams facing off, I'm really curious to see what sort of looks we are going to have from both teams.
Speaking with the Mofo coaching staff, they were really focused on the fact that they did not show any other defensive looks. They felt Eclipse did a little bit more than that, giving them a couple of zone looks, including an FSU in their power pool matchup. For those that don't know, those two teams were going to make quarters anyways. It was really for seeds. So both teams, at least on the Mofo side, they felt they didn't necessarily have to win the game. They'd rather conserve legs, rest some O-line guys, don't show plays, don't tighten the squad. No need to.
No need to. That was just a warm-up game, just to see what each other had.
Paulett, we saw him cross over the defensive line as an adjustment. Going to stay on O for right now with Caleb Neufeld.
Zone look from Eclipse.
Peterson moving things over to Ethan Nemechek. Going to say number 55's name a bunch in this final for sure, if Mofo's to have some success. That's a high stall throw. Going to be knocked down and taken away by Eclipse.
We've seen a lot of games on this showcase field start with a break. The Eclipse sideline noisy right now, looking to gain early momentum.
Louis Ying going to be crossing over both ways, and then you find the lefty handler, been very solid, in Ryan Fan. Fan going to get the disc again and just be before midfield and then feathering it over to the open side. Fan nonstop running right now as a handler, really working for Eclipse as they try to get this break early. But a pick called.
Yeah, Nemechek making that pick call, I would have to say absolutely. Players arguing, were you close enough? But yeah, Nemechek was. He had to slow down. So that disc is going to go back. We see a vertical offense from Eclipse right now. I don't think we've seen them look at upfield too long yet. But we have seen in the junior division, Theo, a lot of teams really trying to force the upfield gains when they just need to take an easy reset.
Inside shot that might be too high for Louis Ying. It is, and Paulett on the move as Mofo going to look for him right away. Neufeld floating this one up, and Paulett rised up too early, and Colin Wu going to smack it away for good measure.
How hard did he hit that disc? Sailing into the fence with the emphatic D. But, you know, Eclipse in this position, this is tough. We have seen that side stack from them. What they're trying to do is really spread the field and set up a big one-on-one in front of the disc. But as there's no looks there, they seem to fall back into the middle.
Jiang going to go up the line of Fan, but this throw is going to hang up. This could be dangerous, and Nemechek making a safe play and rises up vertically.
Nemechek, you hear that cowbell. We're expecting him to make some big plays. So more cowbell for Nemechek.
Nemechek finding Turner, who had a great semifinal against Toro, and he spikes it as they get the hold.
So you might not be able to see it on your screen, but we absolutely have the Winnipeg fans stuffed on the right side of our tent here. A loud fan base, many, many people here watching them. Always nice to have that support on both sidelines. So you've got your team on one, parents on the other. Good to keep the energy up.
lot of games are ending, and I'm just going to move the camera over. I think we're getting a look at some of the jersey trades happening on the far side with a lot of open divisions finishing up. So there was bronze medal women's game happening between Vortex and Mischief, and other bracket games taking place on the women's side, but Junior Open all done. So players trying to, and fans, mostly players, trying to get some new jerseys from teams from across the country. Kind of cool to see here as we get a look at the Eclipse offensive line, our first chance to see them. Keep an eye out for Bryn McCall, Kai O'Donnell, a couple big-time cutters we featured on the previous stream. They'll be doing a lot of the work downfield, and Coach Alex Lamb saying they believe their cutters are better and that they're going to run the offense for this team.
Yeah, they think they have the edge on their speed in both in a straight line and changing direction. See a zone look from Mofo here, seeing some different looks right at the beginning of the game.
A big contrast to showing nothing in their power pool matchup. McKibben going to blade it out. Shaw makes a two-hand grab, moving things forward over to the aforementioned McCall.
Such a hard catch to make. I mean, Mofo wants to force that over-the-top throw, fielded well, but that's what you want to see. Those are low percentage incompletions. So if you can force that throw over and over as Mofo, you're in good shape.
Slowing down the Eclipse cutters, as we've talked about, a big strong point for them, is a good strategy so far for Winnipeg, making this team throw a lot of passes.
Yeah, but lots of passes back. A good use of negative space, not seeing the options. Let's just play a possession game before Eclipse. So you're seeing that disc move back just a few yards directly behind. That's perfectly okay if you're going to keep the disc. If you rush it and turn it over, that's trouble.
A little give and go over there to Shum, but they're still only really past midfield or right at it. And a lot of lateral movement for the Vancouver side.
Good containment. I mean, you're seeing that lateral movement. Eclipse is doing a good job of playing that possession ultimate, but Mofo's zone here just suffocating, taking anything from the middle away. No upfield gain. I mean, we've gone from midfield back to the brick mark. Now Eclipse finding that breakout.
O'Donnell dishing it off, and they try to break out, but then the zone comes right back on, so good discipline for the Winnipeg side. In the women's semifinal, we saw Vortex, who's actually in the final coming up. They would melt past midfield, Mofo deciding to keep it on.
I think that's a good call by Mofo right now because it's working. They Eclipse did almost break out there. They held it, and they were able to contain again, getting the disc, moving backwards again. Now it's back to the brick mark. It's hard work for that cup, though. You're starting to get tired. After 40 throws, you need to keep up the intensity. Keep making this offense swing the disc, maybe force an error.
Noonan Henwood, out there in the sides of the cup, or the top of the zone there, and Cornelison in the middle. You hear keep working White from the sidelines, trying to encourage their teammates on the field.
Yeah, this zone just relentless. I mean, a little bit more passive as they don't care about the negative space. Looks like a plan.
And an out called, Bryn McCall on the line out. Sandra Hansen, the closest observer there, Team Orange. And Mofo, a break opportunity.
Sandra making the active in-out call, something are doing. We heard her out of bounds call, so the zone paying off for Mofo as they do generate that air, never giving up that upfield space.
Daya getting a big deep reset, a power dump almost over to Peterson. Eclipse setting up a zone of their own here.
Yeah, also taking the same strategy, it seems, denying that upfield space, at least making bids on it. Okay, letting the negative space happen, but Mofo breaking out.
Throw's going to hang out for Venkatasamy, who comes down with it. Very athletic, zipping it over, and that is a break for the Winnipeg side.
Mofo, we saw in their semifinal, just take control with the energy, frustrating Toro, their earlier opponent from Toronto, which really gave them the edge in taking the game. We see that same energy here from Mofo. This program, their history having lots of appearances in the bracket. The coaches all having just been in gold medal games themselves. And we see the hockey helmet celebration, the old school blue helmet. No straps on it. That's not going to stay on. But Noonan with the goal. And Theo, I said it earlier. Now you've got Mofo in the cockpit, in the pilot's seat, as they are going to try and suffocate this offense with, I'm just going to call it now, it's got to be a zone with the Clips going upwind. They haven't put it on the board yet. You just want to frustrate them right now.
See two members of Red Flag as the coaching staff for Eclipse, Alex Lamb, Wesley Choi. Alex also part of that U20 squad there in Poland on the coaching staff. Head coach, in fact. And look, you predicted it, Clay, but it's going to be a zone.
Had to be. And I think we're going to see, again, Mofo's okay with the negative space. We see the two players primarily in this wedge getting in front of the disc. Whoever can get to the disc first, just form that wedge. Let them have the backspace. Do not let them break out in the middle. Those three mids in the middle. Really active marks, finding someone to take and taking away the danger. All Clips has right now is dump and swing.
Nemechek on this point, crossing over, as well as Peterson and Pollard. So we were told before the game, Lions really going to tighten up for this Winnipeg side. Seeing it right now, Eclipse with a similar looking offensive group.
The field is spread entirely right now. Nemechek playing deep is about at the brick mark. Eclipse has a player in the end zone. But Nemechek not worried about that because the wind right now, this is where he can be more aggressive and try and help the midfield if it goes over the top.
McCall on that far side has Wong in the back, the lefty handler, shifting it over to Shum, but then failing to continue it to that close sideline.
Yeah.
And a double team call, I think.
Yeah, you see number 25 on Mofo there, Cooper Pollitt, actually telling his teammate to back up.
Shum now had McGibbon, but McGibbon flowing into the middle of the field now. For Eclipse, the team in white. Zipping over to McCall. Venkatasamy is there, but McCall rising up. Keeping possession for this Vancouver side, and O'Donnell out to the races. But McCall's going to hold the disc.
Good patience by McCall. I mean, O'Donnell was off to the races, but Nemechek was there to take that away.
Louis Ying had a handler going up line, but settles for O'Donnell. O'Donnell's throw still caught, but Nemechek's going to call something here. And so there's some celebration from Shum, but very premature because there is a call.
I think he retracted the call. Perhaps he felt there was some contact and that kept him from getting the D. But he took back the call thinking, oh, perhaps that contact didn't matter.
He's going to find Sam Wong for the score. And Eclipse gets the hold they need here. Didn't want to go down 3-0.
Don't want to go down 3-0. And like I was saying before the point, that was a huge possession, or sorry, a huge defensive point for Mofo, as should they have scored downwind, they would have put Eclipse down 3. And now Eclipse, it flips. Now they have the easier time of putting a defense on while Mofo is now forced to go upwind. And I imagine, as we've seen so far in these conditions, it will be a zone again.
I'm just seeing in the background. I love jerseys, Clay, so I'm loving the jersey trades. It's always a really cool part of a tournament, and we're being at Worlds, at the World Ultimate Club Championships as a commentator, was able to see that, and seeing it further here in the juniors.
At the World Masters Ultimate Championships in Ireland this year, in Limerick, Ireland, they actually scheduled it. It was on the program.
It was on the schedule,
yeah,
okay.
It was, I can't remember which night. It was the third to last night, but it was meet at the Student Union building as it was on the campus of University of Limerick. And players just lay it down on tables, and it was almost like a little bit of a flea market. Everybody just walking around, looking at what they like, looking at trades. So fun thing to see across the board in all divisions in Ultimate.
Talks about the Mofo legacy, and those shorts are very coveted, but they're playing right now, so you can't get those just yet. Perhaps during the women's final. Peterson on this close side as Eclipse with their zone. Louis Ying out there once again. You see him keeping his head on a swivel. He's going to get a lot of mileage for Eclipse, number 7 in white.
The mark right now, okay, nice break. The mark right now has been trying to stop that, but Peterson able to find it, and Mofo breaks out.
They're going to have to find someone quickly because Mofo's out to the races. Nemechek holding on now for a little bit, resetting things, finding Peterson coming out of the stack. Right, True out on this point as a handler. Flipping over to Marshall.
Would like to see you get that dump directly behind the handler on the force side. Where is the swing? Is there something they can get the disc back to the middle as they are being forced pretty aggressively to the sideline?
Nemechek trying to make a play across the field, but almost a face block there, and it gets absolutely rejected on the other end. Caleb Neufeld on Ryan Fan.
Oh, man, an emphatic D. Neufeld is saying, I think I broke the disc, as he asks the observers if they can check it out. He knew that Huck was coming. I found that decision to Huck interesting anyway. I mean, the foot block's one thing, but it was going to be a Huck in a double coverage. So we've seen that with the juniors a lot, a little Huck happy on fast break turnovers. But Neufeld, damaging the equipment, that'll be $15, sir. We'll bill you after the game. But I don't think he's going to care. Perhaps our fans on the Winnipeg side might spot him for that cash.
Nemechek working a little give-go with Neufeld. Instead, it's going to go across the field to Cale Peterson, who gets the score. And we told you to watch out for 55 Nemechek, and you see why.
So that's Cale Peterson. Cale there, he seemed to not think that was for him, but he took a quick look behind him and saw, oh, it is me, and turned on the Jets, able to get that goal. Theo, I'm getting a little repetitive here, but the story of this game, it's getting a little cloudy. The wind is coming from our left over to the right. Scoring in that end zone is going to be the hot ticket item right now. I say that, though, and, I believe it's starting to become a crosswind. I'm really feeling it at my back. I see our tent trying to leave the booth here onto the field. But
The nest.
We'll see how my knot tying skills held up.
I mean, if we start to take off, and our mics cut out, then the audience will know your knot tying skills not up to stuff here, and the tent has fallen apart. But right now, this Mofo defense has been strong. Pollitt is back out on the field. You'll see Daniel Plurd and Elliot Wong, two of the coaches, along with Stephen Crew. Wong and Crew, actually first-year coaches for this Mofo side, whereas Plurd has been a few years with this program. Plurd and Crew winning a title with General Strike, and it was told only two members of that General Strike team having not played for Mofo in the past. They were calculating that for me before the game.
The Winnipeg program is just crazy. They have so integrated. Players come up through the pipeline. I'm seeing the Manitoba emblem that is the catch-all for all the teams just everywhere. And there's so many teams from that region here. Really great to hear how much the players from our junior program can move up into the more elite teams.
Paul thought he might have had a block, but it allows Eclipse to go to the races on this close side with McGibbon, Wong, and O'Donnell. O'Donnell with the fake, finding Captain McCullough. As Mofo settling to person defense, and McCullough going on the run with a little give-go with Louis Ying. Stan's starting to pack up as games wrapping up here in this tournament. McGibbon going break side. Just short for McCall with a little high release fake.
Good patience by McCall, not trying to force that up the line. And then once again, better choice is getting the disc back to the middle of the field, away from all the traffic.
Shum just outside the end zone playing pitch and catch with O'Donnell. Then he finds Wong, and it's been better offense from this Eclipse side.
So much so on that point, working the disc around the stack. We see players often trying to force it on the open side when they're only working with what could be described as a 16th of the vertical space on the field. So to see Eclipse spread the field around and then hit cutters in motion as they're coming across, so much easier. Sandra Hansen has her hand up. The celebration is over, everyone. I think this is coming back.
Was going to write down another assist for Shum, would be his second of the game, but going to have to scratch that one out on the score sheet, figure out what they resolve here, or what the resolve or solution is going to be.
Just keeping our eyes out for a signal. It's a foul. So just judging by the player's body language, I haven't seen the signal yet, but Pelé saying his hands were pushed away before he could get in. Sometimes instinctively, Theo, it's hard sometimes not to be making a cut, and as a player's arms stretch out in front of yours, just to reach out with yours and kind of come down on top of them, it's something you don't think about. You feel bad about later, but sometimes just in the moment you can do that. And maybe he didn't, because obviously the players disagree on the history here. Observer ruling no foul. Players shaking hands, so going to the observer, accepting the call, showing that good spirit to say, I disagreed with you. It's why we have our third party. They ruled it's this. Okay, you were right. I'm sorry. Walking away.
That third party also going to be crucial for this game. We got 4 of them, which is the first on the stream for the juniors. We saw that in the senior division as well. And it's just great to have all areas of the field covered by the observers making their way from the observatory.
From the observatory? Theo, I wonder how long before the observatory will, have that live feed of the game and the radio, so that, if the observers wanted to, they could go to New York, as they say, go to Toronto, go to headquarters, figure out that call.
We need our own Mike Pereira or Gene Sterator or someone else up here in the booth giving us the rules analysis is what you're telling me.
Yeah, that's right. I would really like to see, we're going to have to get that one checked out in the observatory, look through the scopes. Man can dream, folks.
What are they doing?
Mofo back out here on offense. Going right to left on your screen as a big pull coming up from Ryan Fan. Going to go with the flick pull inside out. Little two-hand catch and a flub throw that's picked up by Nemechek, and Neufeld still holding his hands on his head. Couldn't believe he did that, and now this is going to be an interesting call. Alan Baggish, the closest member of Team Orange.
Yeah, number 42, that's Chance Jang, is saying that was down. We've seen both teams show patience. Our observer Alan Baggish signaling that it is up. We see a zone, well, I take it back. I believe it's actually a person matchup right now. We're going to have to see a lot of patience, though, in these conditions. Both teams have been doing a pretty good job of that so far. But we are seeing a poachy person defense. That is, if the handlers are back, even if you're playing man-to-man, you move yourself into the lane to stop upfield throws.
Isaac Peterson's throw is going to be hung up and swatted down by Ryan Fan, leading to some cheers from the Eclipse sideline. Fan now picking up, has Louis Ying going deep, finds a target underneath in Jang, takes a little extra yards of travel, and it's called and resolved quickly.
Travels only require a self-check.
Jang going up the line for Fan, but a good poach there from the back by Peterson. Isaac Peterson preventing that throw from being a score.
Nemechek's going to pick up. We've seen him calm, cool, and collected in the backfield most of the time. Once in a while, as we've seen, electing to go over the top, high-risk, low-reward throws. Getting a little desperate in this high stall counts, but finds Isaac.
Neufeld finding Isaac Peterson. 2 Petersons on this team. Also Kale, number 1 in dark. Looking for Raichura. Raichura has someone going deep, but there's a pick.
Yeah, we're seeing some very, very, very open Mofo players right now while they work out this pick call. That will probably go back, but I wonder if everyone else is as open as they seem.
Chiang and Nemechek, the 2 players, having some discussion with Colin Kuntz, the other observer.
The rest of the players finding where they were before the call, as lots of other separation ensued after that pick call.
Right, sure, a little reset over to Neufeld. At the start of this point, Neufeld had a very flubby-looking first pass that almost was a turnover.
Isaac looking for a way through the poach.
Nemechek is poached on this close side, but they're not going to throw it to him, and now they do. Jiang, great matchup. Two tall players going at it. Continuing onto this fourth side to Marshall.
Isaac is going to put that up.
Turner trying to elevate Raichura on the back end and just can't make the grab. He's a little frustrated with himself. I think if he leaves the feet, he might make that one.
Yeah, that's a heartbreaker. I'm here thinking to myself, how was that not a completion? I think you're right. It was just a tough angle for Raichura to catch that at his ankles. Perhaps even just throw in a roll, tuck and roll to make that catch. But yeah, the wind though can always play a part in that, changing the trajectory right before the disc comes down. Side stack from Eclipse.
Louis Ying starting very deep now, coming to the underspace. Bruce has Louis Ying, but Louis Ying clearing back out, allowing a teammate to come in for an open under. Howe's gonna power this up. And it's not gonna stay in bounds, and we're gonna find out where this disc is supposed to come in here.
I feel Raichura was particularly lucky with that when he tried to help out the deep. But that throw, had it stayed in bounds, was gonna be far past him.
And that check on this close side. You see the players having to back up beyond the hash mark, so the field's actually lined up for some ultimate as well. Poach effort comes up empty. Turner able to receive it as they move past half field, working on this open sideline to Marshall. Turner had Raichura going deep and now going to settle for a reset to Nemechek. Nemechek pointing, perhaps going for the inside backhand, but no handlers, and finally Isaac Peterson.
Yeah, left him kind of stranded, but Isaac able to bail him out. Caleb making a cut, it's not there, so it pitches back to Nemechek.
Nemechek fine, looking for Raichura, and just too far for 91.
Raichura letting out an exclamation. He's frustrated now. That's two that have just gotten away from him.
A timeout called there for Eclipse. They're going to take their first of the game. Clay, I'm going to say I like the call. It's been 2 turnovers for them, 3 for Mofo. Right now, players are going to get a breather. We're going to do the same and be right back. We're back for first half action. You're watching the Junior Open Final. I am Ultimates Production. Our producer Tushar Singh is here. We were missed Tushar for the first couple days, so he's out here. And Eclipse here in the white jerseys. Defensive point for them. Louis Ying is gonna bring out the flick. Turner is there, and Turner's a large defender, and almost a second effort there from Jiang, but it'll come up empty.
Turner knew a side stack like that, if the isolated play like that, they're certainly going to go deep first, so he just hung back, kind of read that play all the way down.
Isaac does find Turner. Sporting the shades while playing out here for Mofo. Goes inside to Marshall. A little juke cut deep, gets Isaac Peterson free.
Good to bail him out there as he had no other options or continues right away.
Isaac Peterson looking for Nemechek, coming off the back is Jiang, and he's going to run Nemechek over. Nemechek immediately just pointing at Jiang, saying, he clearly fouled me, observer.
I am curious, there might be a signal here, and that is a hand that hovers over the head, doesn't tap the head, but slices above the head, which means an unplayable disc. I've seen that rule before. It did come up in the 2019 Open Final versus Furious George versus Go, where there was a foul, but the observers got together, ruled that the catch was already out of bounds. It was an unplayable disc. Nemechek has a point here. He got body from behind. I mean, that is a foul, but the discussion right now is, does it matter? Unplayable. So the disc is unplayable, so that while there was a foul, the observer's saying it didn't matter because it wouldn't have come back in play.
A little different to the over-the-head one that you talked about. I believe that was the throw to Mark Lloyd with Morgan Hibbert in coverage, if I'm not mistaken. Does my history serve me correctly there?
Oh, I'm on the spot now, Theo. I'm not sure. I can't quite remember who it was. It is very possible. I just remember the call.
We're going to keep it going on this game. Matthew Wood with the disc. Trying to look for Fan, but that throw slicing into the turf. 4 turnovers apiece on this point. This is a grinder. Neufeld picking up right away. It's going to flip over to Metchek, and surprised, yeah, Neufeld doesn't go on the run because he had his defender kind of asleep there in Bruce.
Neufeld needs an option.
He's going to slice it inside, backhand. I think if it a little more float, maybe it gets there, but that one just too blady.
Eclipse locked into their D, and then just uncork.
Louis Ying running it down. And Eclipse gets the break.
Good old one throw offense, Theo. If you can get it done with a big breakout, always fun. We haven't seen a lot of success in that, but that execution on that throw, that strike is going to pay off. We've harped on that style, that throw, that choice a lot this tournament, but Eclipse showing us that they can pull that off, even though they've already thrown that turnover, but perhaps going the downwind, they just decide to go for it.
What a shot there to Louis Ying. And Louis Ying, an interesting story. Talked about it on our previous stream, but he's a commit to Oklahoma Christian, the Eagles of Oklahoma Christian, the 2-time defending D3 champions in the Open Division. Getting a strong player here from BC. I heard, before he went to Poland for Team Canada, he was there in Oklahoma and doing a little travel back and forth, but will be there in the fall. And their championship concludes in the spring, and Oklahoma Christian trying to go for a 3rd straight title.
Speaking to his father about all the travel that he's had to do, is post-secondary school in the States starts a little bit earlier than it does here in Canada in the season. So he's had to fly back and forth. Dad, Charlie, was giving me that smile of exhaustion. He's happy for what's going on, but man, he can't believe how much moving around, but he's loving it. Real proud of his son in these huge accolades and progress moving forwards in Ultimate.
And Oklahoma Christian, a special program. There's others bubbling up there in the States as well, offering some scholarships to players to play Ultimate. They have Kamari, who's from Kenya, that's also on a scholarship. So they have different players from various countries playing, a lot, of course, for the United States and different regions. Offensive point here as Isaac Peterson finds Nemechek. A couple of D-line players crossing over here on this offensive point.
Right up until that point, there was really good movement by Mofo. Great continues. Now they've gotten a little bit stagnant. Eclipse able to tighten up a little bit more as they get closer to the end zone. Big bid. That was so close.
Isaac Peterson finds Dayan. Mofo showing resilience, get the clean hold right away.
Jago foot, big layout that almost broke that up, but it's just out of his reach.
Sadiki getting the goal for Mofo from Isaac Peterson. And you mentioned Foot almost had the play.
Yeah.
But Mofo gets out of trouble.
Yeah, outstretched. I mean, I really like that layout. We've seen the up lines being favored by both of these teams this tournament. Theo and I have had a chance to watch these teams. They love just using their speed to get open, making one cut up the line, making it happen. We have seen some lockdown D on that, but both teams having a lot of success with it.
Elliot Wong plurred once again. Seem to be more of the defensive minds out here as crew talking to the offensive group. We talked about their first matchup in power pools with the crossover. 12-9 was the score line, but like we said, don't read too much into it. This one's a tight one, and we expect nothing less in this game.
Already, Theo, I think we're seeing from both teams a very shortened line. It's finals. This is it. You're going to continue to put out your top line of players on both offense and defense. So I'm seeing very familiar faces out there. If you touch the disc and go to pick it up, you now have to take it. So Kian will pick up.
Nicholas Shum flipping it back to McCullough. And this opportunity for these teams is national glory, right? You will always, no matter where your career takes you, maybe you stop playing Ultimate, you'll always remember that you won a final in Brampton, Ontario in 2022. So that's what they're playing for here today, and super exciting for us to bring you this action. We thank you for tuning in.
Look at all the pressure being put on this zone by Mofo right now. Every fake is contested if it's parallel. Negative space now being contested a little bit more, which we didn't see earlier, forcing a throw over the top.
Venkatasamy elevates. What an athlete. We've seen him make plays throughout this tournament.
And he celebrated the D, which I love. You can see that energy. He gives the big yeah and then turns around and plays, but it looks like the throws are coming back. Shum maybe arguing that there was a foul on the throw. Oh, I get it. So Theo, what's happening here is it was a contested stall down, and because there was a call made and those players stopped after the defensive play that was made just in front of us here, there had to be a stoppage. So there were too many continuing throws. But the disc will stay with Mofo.
Venkatasamy finds Haas. We hear some come on chants. Silas Neufeld. No relation to Caleb Neufeld. Two Neufelds on the squad. Henwood, another D-line handler for this team with some fakes. Eventually finds House.
Looks to a reset a little late, but lots of support back there from Mofo right now. Eclipse poaching in the lanes, making the handlers move it around a lot. Doing a good job of containing that upfield. And Venkatasamy finds some space, able to get a gain.
Had Daya going underneath, but looked reset before that cut even took place. Over to Howes, now at midfield. This D-line offense trying to work it here. Over to Daya now. And normally you see this patience from an offensive line, but this D-line really showing it right now. Great effort from Shum, coming up empty though.
Good patience shown by Mofo. I mean, this defense is really challenging the upfield. O'Donnell there with a close one, but Mofo showing patience, not taking too many risks as they recognize the pressure they're facing.
Howes, flipping it back to Henwood. Silas Neufeld really into space now, and Henwood trying to clear him out with the fake.
Second time Henwood's used that fake to move the defense around so he can get in a cross swing. I like that.
Haven't really looked at that far side of the field. But eventually they do now. Over to Venkatasamy. Howes, a little shift. Has to spin out. And a reset coming from Silas Neufeld. Henwood Potion's going to get the disc just by the brick mark. And this Winnipeg squad is very, very patient. We're using that word over and over, but we're seeing it right now. Noonan bobbles, keeps possession.
The crowd is so quiet. It's like a study right now. Everybody's just watching, letting Mofo do their job and concentrating on a timeout call. I mean, the great patience. This is going to give the players a chance to rest. The stall coming in at 4 off the timeout, so that'll only give one quick look before needing a dump. Staya has that disc just outside the end zone. Theo, I like that call. Time to set up a good offense.
Daya made a smart call against Toro earlier as well, so a veteran presence of mind. And we'll take a break as well. Mofo has a lead 4-3. Back here for first half action. Daya picking up for Mofo right now as they're on the doorstep of a break. Little juke there from Silas Neufeld. O'Donnell on the mark. Howe's trying to shake free, They get over to Henwood. Henwood continue over with the flick. Van Katasamy gets the score. That's bookends for number 10.
Double happiness for Van Katasamy. A great patient play by Mofo, just running a clinic down in the end zone. You see them celebrate, going up 2 points now. The hockey helmet celebration being presented to number 10.
It's like a knighting ceremony there, but as we take a look at what we've seen in the first half, what are you noticing from both of these teams in this final?
Veterancy. I think that's the best way I can put it right now. We're seeing players in this final who are taking the field are far more mature about their play. They have discipline, they have patience, they know to stick to the plan. And also part of that maturity is when coaches walk over to you and say, hey, maybe stop throwing the stall 40-yard hammer, responding to the coach and saying, yeah, you're right, that's silly of me to do, instead of trying to justify tough looks, just saying, you're right, let's adjust the game. We're trying to get a win here. Let's change up how we do things. So a lot of maturity. The veterans out there running the show. Theo, we've talked about how it's the same faces out there in this game, a tight line calling style. You expect no less in the final. You want to give those mature players a chance to do what they do best.
Let your ballers ball, let your stars play. That's what we say. Nemechek is back out there, a star player for this team. And looking on defense, you know it's number 10, Van Katasamy. Azriel adding another goal to his mantle at this tournament.
Mofo trying to do the contain in the zone, but Eclipse just piping it back and forth across the field, making that zone move.
McKibben doing a great job of staying close to the sideline, not pinching in, giving a safety valve for his team. And this is a big point here for Eclipse. They do start on offense in the second half, but right now momentum a little bit on the Winnipeg side. Wong with the disc, flipping it over to O'Donnell, crashing through the cup.
You see that movement across the field by Eclipse right now is just making it really hard to have any containment on the zone. Mofo dropping to man. I like that choice right now because you're too close to the end zone. Eclipse is shredding your zone. Try something else, so a good melt call.
Match defense in the vertical stack set as McGibbon finding McCall. Team Canada teammates linking up there. Not in the end zone quite yet. Some fakes from Aiden White and McKibben. It's going to be high stall. This might be called back as O'Donnell rises up, but that celebration is going to be muted because there's a stall call. And he's just finding out now after running around.
He was in prime spike stance, just so fired up. He just did sky 7 other people, so you can understand why he's so excited. But observer Colin Kuntz there to get the story from both players. They're pleading his case. We'll see if the players do a contest or if they go to the observer ruling. It is a stall down, so the observer upholding the stall 10 count. That is a turnover. The goal does not count. Mofo will be on offense.
And I'm going to be bold and say that might be an I am ultimate turning point here because that could have been 5-4, but if Mofo gets this break, it's 6-3. That's a huge change of events.
We need a jingle or a sound effect for that, but
We
here
do.
we go. Mofo on offense. Nemechek's going to pick up. He's been picking up all game. Eclipse doing a good job throwing the switches in the back. They want to take away the deep game, especially while Mofo has a chance to go downwind here, as those hucks are proving to be a lot easier in these conditions.
Paulette avoids the contact of McCullough. Want to see Paulette and Nemechek just really work give and go here, and they're very strong handlers for this team. Along with Isaac Peterson, and around over to Kale. But Kale was open because of a pick, and now we're going to see if, I think it might be a turnover here, Clay.
Actually, it might not be. No, it is. So Sometimes the amount of continue throws before a stoppage of play was called can affect things, but that was only the first continue after the pick call, so it is a turnover. Had there been an additional throw and then a turnover, like one completion, it actually wouldn't have been. A little quirk in the rules.
McCall is open kind of in the middle space here. See if they hit him. They do just that as the zone trying to set. Got to get its legs underneath him. Daya setting the mark. That throw's going to go up to the far side and reeled in by Louis Ying.
Mofo, I'm thinking, no, they're going to hold it. I would have expected a melt call right now, but Eclipse just finding the holes right now in this zone.
Looking a lot more calm on this possession. At least Louis Ying was going to go up line. Fakes to the backfield. McKibben had a high stall throw earlier that was stalled out. McCullough catches it and flips it over. Finding Wood for the score.
I liked Mofo's offense that point as well. I mean, Eclipse, what more is there to say? No problem with the zone whatsoever. But Mofo's offense, electing to threaten deep and making their checks back them lots and then coming under. They really marched up the field and then just a miscue at the end. But Eclipse's offense, just no problem. Moving the disc across the field quickly, finding lots of holes. I would have liked to see perhaps some person call far earlier, as that is where it seems that Eclipse is struggling more on offense. Or perhaps not struggling, but just proving to be more of a problem, more of a grind for them to get through than the zone right now.
Wood getting the score for Eclipse, as they're able to avert some trouble here. Could have been dangerous going down 6-3, but instead it'll be 5-4. They had a potential stall out there that could have done them in, but was not the case. Now the defensive line ready to go back out there. Ryan Fan gonna pull.
Theo, you mentioned that stall out, a good example of defense putting pressure on all 7 players.
Back and forth with Neufeld, but that throw into a group of players gonna give Eclipse a break opportunity to tie up this game.
True. Mofo still in control as they're up a point.
Can Eclipse break and tie up this contest? 5-4 the scoreline here. First half action. That throw might be too far, and Turner decided not to use energy to bend down, just going to use the foot to knock it away.
Actually, safety-wise, I've been talking about safety a lot. Actually,
Yeah.
that was a good choice just to get his foot out there, because had he laid out, I actually think he probably would have got run over and maybe conked in the head. So good choice by him to keep it safe.
Fan also making a safe play. Could have tried to make an errant bid, but decided not to. Right, true on the far side here for the team from Winnipeg. Keeping things going over to Marshall. Turner had a bidding player, but made the catch.
Eclipse is getting so close on those bids. They're real tight, challenging the out and really making the ins hard. You can't cover everything, but they're so close. Putting pressure on everything is really important, because you might get lucky throwing a receiver off, just visually.
Getting away is Ryan Fan, knocking away the pass intended for Marshall. Fan gonna pick up right away, put out the flick, looking for Louis Ying, but Nemeshek's gonna catch it out of bounds. Gonna bring it back into play. Cowbells ringing as the fans from Winnipeg loving that.
The cowbell. So we see this poachy defense from Eclipse. They've been trying to put anyone on a handler out into the lane to give their downfield defenders a little bit of a break with the upfield. But Mofo breaking past most of the players. The poach no longer effective.
Isaac beats Jiang to the spot. Still holding it on that far sideline. Finds Neufeld.
Theo, I want to see that swing.
It's
And
caught, but there is a pick though, Clay.
there's a pick. What a sequence. Okay, so had that throw been knocked down, it would have been of a turnover because it was only one throw after the pick, or it didn't affect. But Nemechek with the insane save. And because none of those players acknowledged that there was a pick call, that will stay with, well, actually, yeah, I guess I'm a little confused, actually, Theo. Should that go back to the player who laid out?
It's going to stay here with Neufeld either way.
Not too sure.
We'll need our Gene Sterritter to help us out. Run through block. Going to go deep right away. Louis Yang looking for Bruce. But Nemechek coming down for the block.
He sees
Look
it
at
coming.
Nemechek just running down the whole field, making a play.
And he sees it coming. Eclipse has been doing this the whole game. Nemechek recognizing they're going to do a run and gun defense. I'm just going to haul it to the deep end every time to take away that huck that I know is coming.
Turner gets a little 7-yard, 5-yard gainer. Just trying to work it around the horn, maybe to this break side, but continuing to the open side is Neufeld. Neufeld open side. Has Turner going deep, but instead settles for an under Nemechek, who calls a timeout. Hear their tired chants over there. Their second timeout used, and with that, we'll take a break. First half action for you in the open final juniors of the 2022 Canadian Ultimate Championship. And the timing rule is a little bit different, so I'll let our resident analyst, Clay Howlett, tell us more, because there's going to be a timed half as well. It's going to be different than all the other games we've played.
Resident analyst going on the bottom of my resume, Theo. The timed half will be in 8 minutes. There is a cap for it, so basically once that cap goes in 8 minutes, it will be the next point after that. Once it's scored, half will be taken.
And half will be to that number, correct? So let's say it could be a half to 7.
That's correct.
Firing it forward for Turner. Turner catching under a lot of pressure from Nemechek, and the spike hopefully away from the Eclipse player. Never want to see one at an individual.
I think Turner fired up over that contact, but I believe there's Chance Jang is actually calling injury, as you see all the Winnipeg players, including Turner, immediately take a knee. I mean, you get fired up, you get competitive, but when someone gets hurt, you turn around and show respect.
Jeff Peters, one of the observers, doing a great job of giving us the signal with a huge emphatic, it was a foul call. We're going to have it sorted out. You talked about the spirit, and we saw that in the semifinal between Vortex and Wicked West in the junior women's division, where players were falling down perhaps and getting injured, and both teams immediately going down to a knee, making sure everyone was okay, and we're seeing that right now as well.
See Turner and Jang shaking hands. That call retracted. Maybe Jang just, I mean, you get hit and you are going to call something, because sometimes you don't know where it comes from.
Nemechek with his third assist here. Getting on the board for the Masters of Flying Objects. just over 51 minutes left in this contest. 6-4 the scoreline. And you're listening to the voices of Theo Wan, myself, and Clayton Howlett, as well as seeing the camera work of our producer, Tushar Singh. So we want to thank everyone for tuning in. Want to thank our sponsors as well, VC Ultimate Discraft. Without Discraft, we wouldn't be able to play the game, obviously. Want to thank the city of Brampton, the province of Ontario. And we're at the VC Showcase Field.
That's right. I mean, we wouldn't look good if it weren't for VC. They have nice stuff. Anyway, Mofo. Gonna pull. They have a chance to re-extend a lead to 3, which I believe they had earlier in the game. That horn, if you heard it, is not for us. We have a double horn. It's just there's different time slots, so we'll let you know with the timing. Don't worry about the horns.
Mofo had leads of 3-1 and 4-2 in this game, and at one point, 5-3 as well. So they're trying to extend to that 3, and we talked about the IM Ultimate turning point potentially on that stall down throw that eventually Eclipse was able to score on that possession. Louis Ying going up line with some pace. And they're still working it to Wong. He was left open there.
Mofo did a good job to contain it to that sideline, but had no answer to the up the line throw. And Eclipse recognizing that, just marching it right up.
McCullough and Wong doing a little give-go. We saw McCall having the disc earlier. I think some of his impact negated because of the zone. We know he's a great deep cutter, and they do find McCall. O'Donnell flipping it over to him.
Excellent concentration by O'Donnell. Also excellent timing by Eclipse to always make sure there was a cutter available as the receiver turned around and had a look. Like I said, Theo, Mofo's zone there was really stopping the disc from moving to our side of the field, which in our opinion up here in the booth, I think feeling the win, we could say this is the harder side, that is, or sorry, the easier side. You want the disc worked up here. They kept it on the harder side of the field, but nothing was taken away upfield. Eclipse just up the line, up the line, up the line, jamming it forwards, having no real issue, no contested throws that point. So both teams not really showing any lack of confidence or fear with the wind the way it is or getting to one side or another. I do believe the wind shifting to a crosswind has a lot to do with that.
If you're just joining us, you might not know that the bronze medal has already been handed out for the Junior Open Division. Origine out of Quebec City taking it over Toro from Toronto. So congrats to the Quebec City outfit.
That's a neat thing because they were kind of a reboot. There used to be Hydro with the English accent.
Provincially, yeah.
Yeah, and then they changed things up and started Origine, and to get hardware your first go at Nationals is a big deal.
They didn't play in 2019 and didn't finish high up in 2018, so this is a great start for Origine as they rebooted up from the pandemic. Now back to the action on the field.
I like this look we see from Eclipse, often challenging man-to-man in the lanes.
Paul looking for a Turner, but it's knocked down. Great defense, sealing out.
Yeah, I think based on the way they're looking at containment, they're giving him the negative space, and they really want to challenge the upfield throws, trying to generate those contested situations.
Foot with the block, and Fan gonna go deep. Looking for Brandon Sun, who tries to elevate. Nemechek is there as well. Two big athletes going vertical in the air.
Nemechek played last back, and once again, that third or fourth time this game, just seeing that a mile away.
Every time a Mofo player gets in a power position, you can expect 24 Turner to really just go deep, Chris Turner, as there's a pick called.
Yeah, Eclipse, this might be the game plan. I don't like it when you've done it 3 times now, and Nemechek knows it every time. Mofo's doing a good job of playing last man back. You're just giving away possession. And your field, you might argue, well, it's good field position. Well, if we look at where the disc is now, it doesn't really matter. Doesn't look that way.
They work it up, is what you're saying.
Yeah, they can. So if I'm coaching Eclipse, which I'm not, but if I am, I'm telling them to reel in that huck right off the turnover.
It's been a lot of Ryan Fan 21 for Eclipse. He's been given what seems to be the green light. Neufeld gets the reset. They're still not out of that corner of the field, or side of the field, I should say. Neufeld then swinging it out over to Isaac Peterson. Calling for an underneath cut, finds it. And then swing it to the far side, or close sideline, excuse me, to Marshall.
Marshall been solid this game as both a reset and a cutter. Not getting a lot of airtime from us, but sorry, Marshall, because you've been just so dependable.
Neufeld finds man coming out of the stack. Man flipping it back. The handler's really tight together here. Marshall, heard you say that's going to get himself on the board here for number 18.
Yeah, credit where credit is due. A great point for Marshall. Everywhere on the field, scoring points, dependable reset. And Theo, this is what I was talking about. Mofo's done a good job of recognizing that Eclipse has a plan, and that is huck off the fast break. And they've just been clamping down on that. Eclipse's defensive pressure, though, has been really well executed. They're really trying to play containment. Half will be taken at 8. We just got the word from observers based on the time cap as it is. If the cap had gone that point, they would take the highest score and add 1. And since they're adding 1 to 7, half will be at 8 regardless. And this left side of the field, the favor side of the field for most of the weekend right now, really it's just all about keeping the disc on the sideline closest to us. There are 44 minutes left in this game. This would be a big shift here, Theo, if Mofo could take half.
Taking off 8-5. Eclipse does start on offense, but if you're Eclipse, you do not want to go down 8-5 right now. You're sensing the importance of this. They do have a timeout in their pocket if things get stuck. We see a lot of the same players out there: McKibben, Wong, O'Donnell, McCullough, Shum, Louis Ying. Over to Wong.
Clips in that horizontal offense, containment defense in a zone from Mofo.
And thought it was caught, but it's going to be a short field turnover. Mofo, chance to punch in the break here. This is a big turning point. Henwood, I don't think they have another timeout. So we're just going to double check this as we see Elliot Wong rushing onto the field and Jeff Peters talking. I believe with the new rules, it's not a turnover right away. I think stalls get added. We're just going to double check here.
Jeff Peters, thank you so much. The stall coming at 5 as they add 3 to the stall count. Theo, I'm glad you called that. I actually didn't know about the rule update. I was thinking it was just going to be a turnover.
Yeah, I don't want to Chris Webber it here if you're a Mofo. Flying it over to Cornelison. Here, nice being chanted. I'm not sure if that's for the offense or defense here. Reset to Henwood. No real offensive crossover from Mofo right now. Henwood going up the line and just too far for Silas Neufeld.
Mofo.
McKibben looking for McCall. That one's blading in. He has O'Donnell. O'Donnell's not going to get picked up, but that throw just too low. You talked about the waiting game. The defensive pressure of the mark making things hard as well from Mofo.
Yeah, I was going to say, Venkatesmi not recognizing right away that Eclipse is just going to run and gun it. He couldn't stop that deep, but then a little bit of lack of patience from Eclipse, giving it back to Mofo.
Henwood receives the reset, finds Howe on this close sideline, very open. Shaking off Daya instead. Did find Noonan, and Amel called, and then it's knocked away by O'Donnell.
O'Donnell keeping his eyes out on the play, able to snack on that little dish in the middle.
McCullough moves it over to Wong. The lefty gets over to Louis Ying. McKibben showing up major yards right now. Gets bumped, but it's going to call a timeout. Eclipse does have a timeout, I believe.
Actually, I think he only signaled foul. Foul, no contest.
Thought he was putting it over the tee there, and just the way he was moving the disc, but it is, thank you, Clay. It's going to be remaining with Eclipse. No timeout call. Louis Ying going up line, and safe play from Neufeld, not crashing in, but it's not in. Louis Ying getting away from that side. Good move there, and going to swing it all the way around. McCullough finds a jumping in Wong. Big point for Eclipse.
Theo, you may know I'm a little biased to offense when I'm up here in the nest, but that play by Wong to jump from inside or outside of the end zone and then swing his legs in off his jump to secure that. We see that movement across the field from Eclipse. Mofo hasn't really had an answer to that quick disc movement. Mind you, most teams don't. If you can get it and swing immediately, get the disc to the harder side of the field right away, you're always putting the defense at a huge disadvantage.
Gonna take a look at this Eclipse defensive line out there. Ryan Fan. Louis Ying is out there. O'Donnell, McCullough, McKibben, all crossing over McCullough as well. Essentially their offensive line with Ryan Fan in there.
I'm not too surprised by that. Typically, both players from your top lines are very, very strong. You're seeing this opportunity with half at 8. You're within 1. You're going to start on offense next half. So getting this point actually could be a huge.
Is important, very important.
Huge, and basically would, I mean, if everything goes according to plan after this break, tie up the game. So coming out of half, that is. So good choice by Eclipse.
Standard offensive line. Paulett has been doing a little bit of both, and he'll be out here on offense. Neufeld working with the Met check. No surprise here for Mofo. Not going to change anything up right now as they find man. Goes around to Isaac. A tumbling McCullough is going to stop play as there's a pick.
Seeing 4 Eclipse players around 1 thrower. So if Mofo gets to keep this, Eclipse is going to have to run back and make sure Peterson has no continue here, as there's a few open players on the field underneath.
Just tapped in here, and Paulett safety valve right away. Paulett has man going deep. Goes underneath instead. Little zippy pass that could have been blocked. Paulett able to remain in control. Inside shot to Nemechek. Changes the field over to Marshall. Marshall had a goal early, and we said he's kind of an unsung hero for this team, providing a lot of safety valve resets in the handler space. Might not find himself all over the score sheet, but you need players like that on your team.
Eclipse making Mofo work so hard right now for all the cuts. You love to see that pressure from your defensive line. These players have had a lot of mileage, though.
Inside shot, 2 players there. It's going to be Isaac Peterson who comes down with it. Isaac Peterson looking for Marshall. Fan there, but Marshall gets it despite the contact. So second straight goal for Marshall.
Fan with the contact, but Marshall and him shaking hands after realizing it's accidental. But I see observer Sandra letting Fan know, hey, just be a little bit more careful. That was pretty tight. So that's halftime, Theo, as we take half at 8. A big half for Mofo as they're up 2 points. So while Eclipse will start on offense, they're still have to get that break to tie up the game.
No game for the Mofo women's team ending, so they're coming in to cheer on their squad and love that camaraderie. Both teams having their women's squads here, and we're going to find out if Eclipse women's can take their championship home. They'll be playing later on today at 2:30 Eastern against Vortex, a little BC matchup. Stay tuned for the conclusion of this second half as Mofo up 8-6. Second half action coming at you from the VC Showcase Field, Brampton, Ontario. It's the Junior Open Final. Mofo up 8-6. Mofo in dark out of Winnipeg, Manitoba, taking on Eclipse in white out of Vancouver, British Columbia. Theo Wan here with Clay Howlett, two-star producer. Clay, what'd you see there in the first half for those that might just be joining us?
Good patience from both teams, particularly in the end zone. Mofo has been showing a bit more in the field proper. Eclipse often electing to go for a run and gun defense as soon as they generate the turn, throwing lots of hucks, and Mofo seeming to read that and getting a few more break opportunities off that. So I'm curious to see if an adjustment is made by Eclipse this half to kind of reel in those big hucks right after a turn.
Louis Yang, nice little inside shot to O'Donnell, who's been buzzing around in the underspace all day for Eclipse. Through the shot again to O'Donnell, who's going to continue to the other side for McGibbon. McGibbon with the layout. Going to check to see if it's ruled inbounds.
No, that is out of bounds.
But out of bounds.
It looked like his first point of contact, which was his feet, had already crossed the line when he caught it. Although, that catch, I want to give it to him. Really athletic play, turned on the
I was waiting
Jets.
for a signal, but you're right. McKibben landing out of bounds there. And what effort, though, from number 8 in white.
See that wall in front, that Eclipse wall, trying to take away all the upfield, putting tons of pressure on those throws up the gun. They're trying to make that throw happen and then clamp back down on the middle.
Pollitt has been the D-line handler for this Mofo side. Finds Venkatasamy, or excuse me, his teammate there. That's Daya. Pollitt now on this close side. Gonna power up a backhand looking for Noonan, but McCall is there to snack on it for the block.
Good snack, as you say, Theo. That huck made a little bit too late thanks to the conditions. It's a really far throw when you have to contest the wind.
McGibbon now had O'Donnell, but looking for a target that's just too far. That's Matthew Wood.
Yeah, kind of lucky for Mofo. They were stuck on a 2-versus-1 situation there, but the choice of that throw. And having that edge, that OI edge with the wind at our backs, Theo, it catches the underside of that disc and just takes it for a ride.
Hear them talking about taking away the unders here. Love our setup from the nest where we can hear what's going on from coaches and players from the sideline. Pollitt swinging around over to Cornelson. Gets a little flip and continue things going. Rocking the eye black there.
Eclipse is doing a good job of, after they make a bid defensively, they're getting right back into containment. You'll see them sort of collapse around a pass and then take some step backwards or turn their heads, look around, look for the next pass. This is what they don't want. They need to stop that give and go. If the offense gets ahead of those 3 players, you're going to have half your defense out of position.
This is an offensive point for Eclipse, so if they were to give up a break, be quite devastating right now as time continues to tick away. And Cale Peterson can't get that one, and giving a gift over to Eclipse. Wong flipping it over and bobbled, but then caught by Matthew Wood.
Wong keeping it exciting for us. A little bit of a bobble, but he puts his body on the ground right away to secure that. Now that was an offensive point for Eclipse, and they scored downwind. You want to get excited. You want to celebrate some good offense. You want to celebrate a great catch. But Theo, that, if you're familiar with kind of offensive, defensive line setups, the offensive line just did their job. They scored on the easier side, what we found to be the easier side of the field today. So celebration warranted. When you do cool stuff, talk about it, but it's really working in the other direction. Eclipse has to rifle off some breaks here and get it close as time ticks away.
See the offensive coach there, Stephen Crew, jogging off the field for Mofo. Having multiple coaches allows you to have them know the lines pretty well and intimately, and knowing what players to bring on, what players might need a breather, what players have the legs to cross over. We're seeing that throughout this game for PBHG. I don't know why I said PBHG there. Saw a PBHG player on the sideline and Thomas Boyle.
Well, if I may, but and also PBHG coach, Elliot Wong, bring home the silver medal with PBHG. So that must be it, Theo.
Yeah, I just got PBHG on the mind here. Neufeld going deep. Turner is there. Tried to rise up. A great coverage from Wood. Jiang also there.
That's a tough one. Eclipse doing a good job being able to attack that disc of where they can jump at their apex, perhaps just out of reach, but because it was so close, both Mofo players also had to go up early in a place where it looked like they would not be able to make the play. So good job by Eclipse to force that.
We've seen fans shoot it deep quite early for Eclipse. Will they work it up this time around? Lazada, haven't heard too much about him in this game, so he gets a chance to make a play for this Eclipse side. This throw is going to be quite high, and Neufeld sizing up who was behind him, seeing no one there, going to rise up for the block. Man, about 5 yards away for Mofo. Nemechek finds Neufeld for the open side score. Nemechek make that 5 assists.
The Winnipeg crowd loving it. 2 cowbells now only starting to get on my nerves, but you love the positivity from this Mofo team. I mean, I said it the last point too, Theo. I mean, celebrate when you do cool stuff. But once again, O-line, you did your job. You want to seal the deal in this final, go get the upwind break.
Looking across the complex here, I think games have all but finished as we see Eclipse warming up behind us for their women's final coming up. See the second team out of Winnipeg in their system, Manitou, also out here cheering on Mofo along with the Mofo women's team. Unfortunately for Eclipse, their women's team is playing a final, so they can't be out there cheering. They got to focus on their own game.
Yeah, it looks like they're behind us, just warming up on field number 3, working some things out, talking some zone looks.
Plord and Wong coming off the field as we get a look at this Mofo defensive line. Big pull coming up from Cornelson. Then Kataspi has been very active as a mid-mid. Expect some big skies from him if Eclipse decides to put it up. McCullough in power position. Going deep. What a shot over to Wood. Wood really been stepping up on this offensive line, and McCullough, the captain, with a great throw.
Wood engaging the cloaking device, sneaking behind enemy lines there. No one found him until that disc was up in the air. Theo, I was throwing my hands up saying, who has number 6? And he just left alone in the defense. McCullough recognizing it and putting out an edge throw, which had me a little nervous at first, but well executed.
The deep there, and Neufeld pinched in a bunch and did not see, perhaps, Wood going into that deep space of the field. Wood having more goals in this game than prior to coming to the tournament, so love to see Wood making a contribution when it matters in the final.
That's right. There's some players we don't talk about very much. You know, we were giving credit to Marshall on Mofo. Wood, we haven't talked about too much, but still putting himself in the game. You can't win a final if your players don't do that. If this is just about a few people, you can't win. You got to make it a whole team effort. We've seen that from both teams today. 23 minutes left until the soft cap comes on. As we approach that cap, just a few minutes out, I will explain how that works. But we'll wait till we get there.
We'll get a little closer here. Lots of game left for you in the crowd. And more Ultimate coming, as we mentioned, a final at 2:30 Eastern. Mechek firing through over to Turner. See them go into person defense. Pollard back out on this offensive point.
A pick downfield, so the disc will stay where it is as it wasn't affected.
Neufeld finds a undercutting Isaac Peterson, excuse me. Peterson going around, finds Neufeld. Loses the hat, and great spirit from Fan pushing that away so Neufeld could actually set a pivot. That was nice to see.
Just removing the hazard. I've never seen something like that. And a blown tire in the middle of the field causes a turnover. Eclipse now. The marks are all over the place. The Eclipse handlers all alone, which gives them an easy huck.
McCall gets a shot from McKibben. Both crossing over this defensive line, and a timeout call. Clay, before we even have a chance to settle down, I'm going to ask you what you think about the call from McCall.
I like it. He's got two players in front of him. He doesn't like both options. He senses that the stall count is racking up, so he thinks, I probably want to reset. But I also have the feeling, I'm not sure if he saw or looked, I couldn't tell, but he's probably got the feeling that behind him, no one is going to come up for the reset right away. His two receivers in the end zone not really are going to be able to come back and set a good reset up. So he just decides, all right, forget this. I'm going to call a timeout. We're going to get set. Maybe get a quick reset off or just run a play and punch it in.
Eclipse trying to run a play that's going to get them the tie game here at 9s. We'll find out if they do so in a couple minutes.
Tushar from I Am Ultimate here. Just as we come out of this timeout, I'd like to thank a few more folks. This stream is being carried on CBC and has been for the last little week. Alessandro Lobalsamo as well as Josh Ubadia helping us out with that. Just wanted to make sure that we do our thank yous properly, and I'll hand it back to our commentators as we go out of this timeout.
Bryn McCall with the disc. For Eclipse on the door of a break, being marked by the same number and Cooper Pollitt. Goes around. Nice grab by Fan, who continues it to the far side to Louis Ying. Looking for that tie game, and perhaps a down call as the grab was made. This is going to be a contentious call, I think, Clay.
I'm chuckling. Jeff Peters was right there. So he can definitely make the call if the players go to him. I did see it sort of flutter in the hands on the ground there, maybe touching the grass and bobbling around a little bit. So Wong trying to explain his case. If the disc was touching the ground while he hadn't totally stopped the spin, that would count as the disc being down. Peters observer ruling, the disc is up. He had his hands underneath it. That will be the goal for Eclipse.
Goal is made, and that is a break. Miles Wong celebrating. This is a tie game, folks.
Tie game. Mofo now having to work towards the harder side of the field, but the wind has died down. Both teams showing today that it hasn't been too much of an issue, but I keep bringing it up because there is a slight advantage of being the team on the left side of the field right now. Certainly not what we've seen this weekend, but that advantage still, the trends we've seen in this game, it still exists.
How is Winnipeg going to respond right now? We saw in their game, they went down to Toro. Toro made a comeback, and they rattled off 3 straight points for the W, putting themselves into this position. Eclipse winning their semifinal against Origin quite handily, 15-4.
Well,
we see 2 coaches there.
Yeah,
Clay
Theo,
and Crew and Plurd talking.
Theo, I think we talked about it earlier. There was that maturity, that veterancy that we were discussing. It's just needed what's right now. Crew making sure that his line is settled, probably telling his boys, This is what I want to see from you. Just go out there, play ultimate. We've seen the coaching staff from Mofo very calm, not worried. They're shouting directions to be heard, but there's no panic. There's no stomping of the feet. They're just trying to keep their players in it and focused.
Paulette back out here for this offensive point. Raitshura as a handler as well. Neufeld going to secure it over to Paulette as the zone look comes down with McKibben back out there on defense. You'll see Louis Ying for multiple points in a row. Inside shot. Finds Isaac Peterson.
Yeah, Mofo. That all started with that great break shot through the middle. I hear the melt call from Eclipse.
Really tight on that sideline. See if they can get it around for Neufeld. Going to slice it inside to Nemechek. Continue it over to Raitshura, who goes to the disc. Mofo chance being made as they try to usher on this offense. Big hold going right to left.
It's a bump down the field. I don't know if it's a foul or an injury, but a player down for Eclipse. We think it's a foul based on the body language, how people are speaking. No one seems hurt. Yep, it is. So they're talking about it. Either way, Mofo won't lose possession in this case by the rules. It will either stay with the thrower or it will go back to the previous thrower if there was no foul. So Mofo, not a bad position, but you do have to allow the defense, no matter what, to be in the position that they're justified to be in. So you want to get this call correct. Eclipse has a point that if I've been knocked down by a foul, then suddenly you can go up the line and get open. That isn't fair. So definitely something that needs to be sorted out. We now have a conference with 3 observers, 7 players. The crowd, silent, curious as we are.
With this stoppage, it gives us the time to thank Team Orange because they've been doing their job throughout the week. And for those who don't know, they were also here for the seniors event. So many observers doing double duty being at both. So want to give a big kudos to them, Clay.
Yeah, 8 days to be in a hotel room can be a long time. They've been in it for the long haul.
Paulette, big flick fake. Going up the line to the Nemechek, and Mofo stops the momentum, gets the hold.
Theo, I'm just taking a peek at the time. 14 minutes, 20 seconds before soft cap, just so everyone understands. We break that 15-minute mark, Theo. I'll explain the cap rule now.
That's a good time. It's a good time.
The soft cap game, once that timer runs out and we get to zeros, a horn will go off. And that horn will signify that after the current point ends, they will add 1 to the highest score, and it will be a game to that number. Theo, you and I have talked about how we like the style of score to win. It changes how you use your timeouts. It changes the gamesmanship in that. We've talked about that a little bit, but what I like more is having a cap on the game where you can't just win by running out the clock. I like the fact that you have to score to win. I'll probably take that over the hard cap rules. You can still use the hard cap rules when they're there, but I definitely prefer scoring to win. Sandra Hansen using the pipes and letting us know that a timeout has been taken by Mofo.
We saw that the hard cap affect the Toro Mofo game earlier because they couldn't have a chance to come back and win. That was the thing that we saw, right?
Yeah, that's right. Toro essentially didn't score fast enough because the cap went on before they scored. They were then 2 points down instead of 1 point down when they were playing the last point of the game. And had they scored it, they could have brought it to a tie, but it didn't work out. So we're going to take a quick break here on this timeout before the pull.
Pull going up from Mofo here. Junior Open final action. A bobble pull by Wong. And a great effort from Paul to try to get the block. You see the intensity of these players. Championship on the line here, folks. Theo Wong here with Clayton Howlett. Slicing shot over to McCullough, who's gotten a lot of burn on the offense and done a great job as one of the main handlers.
Seeing the containment style defense from Mofo right now. Really not challenging anything behind the handler, letting the open side swings go off, but taking away the middle.
Give and go with McCullough. It's going laterally, but want to see the shots downfield a little bit more if you're an Eclipse fan in the audience.
I'm seeing some neat defense in the middle of the field, some face guarding, just absolutely shutting down the players in the middle while the handlers try and work it.
Long tried to go inside shot to McKibben. That was taken away by Noonan. Now a crash by McGibbon.
Louis Ying is being taxied right now, always having a check on him as he tries to break out deep.
Cornelson, that person tasked with that challenge, and now Louis Ying does get the disc, finds an open Wong, and you talked about the theme being patience of the first half, and we're seeing it right here in the second. Less rush shots from both sides as they realize the importance of these points. There's going to be few of them, and so want to treasure each one. Give and go, McCullough and McGibbon.
McCullough's give goes. Well, that one was called a travel. Okay. But he is just doing such a great job of keeping the defense on their toes right now. He's looking to swing it. He's moving the defense around. If it's not there, he does a give go, gets it right back, then tries to swing it again. So that call retracted.
Going around to Wong, the lefty. Got to watch out for those around flicks. Instead sells for the backhand. Now to the center of the field to Wood. Had a great game for this Eclipse side. Wong, does he jump in? Waiting for the call. Still to be decided here, it looks like.
Looks like Isaac Peterson is saying something.
Conference happening between Alan Bagish and Sandra Hansen, and this one, we talked about anticlimactic when they try to get it right, but this one a little bit more anticlimactic.
Yeah, Sandra looking around trying to find views when a lot of bodies are in the way. The observers are willing to say, I didn't see it. So we hear that from Kuntz. He standing on this opposite line, far too many legs in between. They rule it a goal.
A hold there for Eclipse, a smooth one at that as Wong gets his 4th goal of the game. And we're all tied up here, Clay.
I believe it was Wong earlier. And once again, doing that little scoot back on the catch, jumping up with his feet and then throwing his toes backward. He seems to have that dialed in. It's saved 2 points now.
When you got the heads-up mentality, you talked about the veterancy or the maturity of these players. We're seeing it right now. We've seen some timeouts like Daya making a big one in that Toro game. Perhaps players getting too excited. We're seeing it out here as well with the jump in with the toes. 8 minutes and change left before the soft cap. And you know Eclipse going to power up a defensive line. They have mostly their O-line out there, but they've added Andrew Twong and Miles Wong, who caught a goal for a break just a few points ago. O'Donnell's out there. McCall, McGibbon, 2-pull. Expect Ryan Fan out there, their big lefty D-line handler. All systems go here for Mofo, same offensive line. No real changes.
This pull, that's what I was hoping for. Big, a lofty pull going to land inbounds. Eclipse is on the disc as it is received. Great defensive opportunity.
Some confusion potentially on this close island with Louis Ying and another defender in McCall.
I believe it could have been an offside signaled on the Eclipse side, but it can be called and play can continue. So the players kind of stopping because they thought they had to come back.
Saw Wong on this side, looking like he was trying to signal for something. The play is going to continue. Nemechek Receive the pass there from Mann. Now it's at the hemisphere with Neufeld.
Old dependable Marshall on this side. I was hoping he'd get a swing, as I want Mofo to work it to the harder side of the field, which is this, sorry, the easier side of the field, which is this side. They're keeping it on the hard side where the wind has been pushing things out. But Neufeld looking like the quarterback. They just want to keep it in his hands. But if you can make those throws, those inside breaks, get it back to the middle of the field, it's worth it.
The quarterback, Neufeld, as you mentioned, marked by Fan. It's going to go around to a man who's come out of the stack. And you're right, they failed to get to Marshall that far side, and the testament to the handler defense as well. Some discussion, of course, to be had here, Clay.
And, durable Discraft sign being picked back up after one of the bigger Mofo players collapsing it. That disc is being argued down. Turner, if you couldn't hurt the equipment, we'd appreciate it. Alan Begish right there to make the call. Observer ruling, it was up. It never did skid off the ground.
Sideline starting to pile up here. Players having to be a certain distance back. Great effort, but Mofo going to move it. Still failing to get to this close sideline of the field, Clay. Really just sticking to that far side. The more difficult side, as you mentioned. That was definitely a pick going up line, but not called. Nemechek's high stall. Man gets it under a lot of bodies, or through a lot of bodies. Needs a reset. Flipping over to Nemechek. Very crowded on that open side right now.
Yeah, they're just using that one lane of the field.
Nemechek looking for a man. They do stay on that same lane and get the score for the hold.
The Clips did a good job there to keep that containment on the hard side. I mean, Mofo able to pull that out, but Mofo never able to get it around, as the Clips kept putting on that extra pressure when they saw the swing coming. I believe we're getting the signal of 4.5 minutes to soft cap. 11-10. Theo, I don't think this is going to 15. So we're going to keep our ears out for what will be a double horn, and we'll keep our eyes on the clock to let you know when that cap comes on. The cap, once again, soft cap rules. They will, during the point in progress, when the cap goes on, they will add 1 to the highest score after that point concludes. And it will be a game to that score, and then the clock will not run anymore, and we'll play until we get to that time, or that value.
Got to score to win. You love it in a final, especially a national final, deciding all the glory. Nemechek having a great game so far, 6 assists. His brother Braden winning a silver medal along with Wong with PBHG there, losing the Union in the final. Taking a look at the Mofo defensive line. Cornelson's out there, Pollitt, Daya, Noonan, Venkatasamy, Cale Peterson, and Silas Neufeld to pull. So Pollitt really the only offensive player crossing over right now in standard offensive line for Eclipse.
Not surprised to see McCullough and Louis Ying in the back there for Eclipse.
You're going to hear the same names over and over, especially now, Clay, with the game where it's at. Great save there. Keeping things moving is Wood.
Looking for options to move it to the break side, but instead finding an open side up the line. A travel called. Some in the crowd groaning a little bit, believing that not to be a travel. But, you know, on this side of the field, it's very hard to see, not the best perspective. So, observer Alan Bagish right there. It's interesting, Theo, we've talked about how the observers take a little bit more of an active role as to inform and help the players with the rule. Kind of unique to the junior division, where they are not so involved in the senior division, far more just call, walk away. In the junior division, do a lot more explanations. It's a good chance for that learning as well.
Part of the growth, and for a lot of them we've talked about not playing in this tournament before. McGibbon spinning around. Finds Wood for a little 2-foot pass. That resets the stall, but puts them in the same position they were previously. Great save, and now Fan moving over to McCullough. Excuse me, that's Wong over there.
Love that move by McCullough, working to get that break. Wasn't there, turns around, turn and burn.
Turn and burn potentially into the end zone. It's Wong trying to get this hold for the Vancouver side. Had Wood cutting to the front cone. Going to go with the blade instead, but there's a stall call before that throw to Louis Ying.
Yeah, we see observer Hansen showing everybody what the call is right away. You knew it was a high stall count for that reset throw to come out like that. I believe that's Kale explaining his perspective to Hansen. Observer ruling it was up. Clips keeps the disc 5 yards outside of the end zone.
Noonan on the mark. Big fake from Louis Ying to the backhand side. Has O'Donnell providing a safety valve. Still has his reset is Louis Ying. O'Donnell up the line, taken away by Venkatasamy. Over to Louis Ying. And a drop from McKibben, giving Mofo the disc.
Oh, I am Ultimate Turning Point 2.0 field. That is huge. Mofo's got to be chilly and just hold on to it. This could be a massive change in the game.
We hear some wait, because there's a travel call way back there. Azriel Venkatasamy and Cale Peterson trying to go out on the run.
So our clock has run out.
The game hasn't run out, though, Clay.
No.
More game to be played,
Yeah,
baby. Let's go.
Our clock has run out. So once this point finishes, they will add 1 to the highest score. If it's a tie, just add 1. And after that point, or excuse me, after this point, it will be a game to either 13 or 12.
These calls can kind of stop the momentum. You hear a lot of chatter on the sideline, but it's quite quiet. No cowbells or anything. Cale Peterson talking it over with Jeff Peters.
Theo, you don't need to encourage the cowbell. Thank you very much. But, you know, it looks like our players out there have it worked out. Travel, no dice.
Don't believe O'Donnell, who's also number 10, was that close to Venkatasamy. So right now, O'Donnell is marking Venkatasamy as if he was there previously, but I don't think that's actually the case.
Yeah, this is why we need to send it back to the observatory, Theo. You know, I wonder if the players are working this out, or I see some Mofo players saying perhaps positioning needs to change up.
Will remain with Azriel Venkatasamy. Reset, and that's going to be knocked away. O'Donnell was there. Not sure if it was a drop or a knock away, but either way, it's Eclipse disc.
Eclipse settles it down. We see lots of calls from their sideline after a big cheer to relax.
McKibben has Wong going up line, and McCullough has a reset, and a bobble disc once again from the Eclipse side on the attacking half.
Don't
Pollitt.
do it. Good choice.
Venkatasamy going deep. Daya thought about it, gonna reel it in, finds Pollitt. Tense times here in Brampton. Daya resets it back to Pollitt, who almost bobbles it himself. Looking to the front cone, finds Cornelison for the score. It's a break for the Winnipeg side.
So what that should mean is game to 13 at this point. I am going to make sure we can get that confirmed based on the time. We don't want to tell you the game's over and then have it go the other way.
We got confirmation from observer Jeff Peters that it is a game to what score, Clay?
Game to 13. Theo, I got it right. I know what I'm talking about on the cap rule. So it is a game to 13. Mofo up 12 in this. Theo, tell me if I'm using this trope right. Is this Mofo's game to lose right now?
It's tough. Eclipse is a very good team, and right now, Mofo, you're right, has the advantage because even if they get scored on here, I don't think they're going to put on all their offensive horses, knowing that they can go back and run their offense going left to right on your screen with the top players having rested this point.
That being said, a maximum of 3 points to be played in this game. Minimum of 1, maximum of 3. Yeah,
that's why you're a teacher out here, Clay. I used to be one, but no longer, and that's why you are. D-line right now for PBHG. Cornelison back out there to pull. Venkatasamy, Noonan, Daya. No offensive line players on the field. Center to Louis Ying. Louis Ying has O'Donnell going deep. No one there. That sails in for the score. Eclipse needed that one as the Eclipse women celebrating. Great shot there from number 7, Louis Ying. And if you want to see more ultimate action, get ready because after this, we got Vortex and the aforementioned Eclipse women's team going at it in an all BC battle. But right now, this is the action that you're looking for. It's 12-11. Mofo just has to hold for the W, Clay.
They just have to hold. I don't know how O'Donnell got open there. Some blown coverage. Another use of the cloaking device. Theo, that's outlawed in the Kittimer Accords, but that's two now by Eclipse getting deep just with no coverage. So Mofo, no matter what, will have 1 or 2 offensive points ahead of them here. Now that Eclipse has had that hold, they have to get 2 breaks to win the game. A tall order considering how this game has been going, where offensive has been particularly clean.
Offensive line here for Mofo. Man, Pollitt, Marshall, Peterson, Nemechek, then Neufeld, and Turner as a person number 7 on the line. McKibben to pull. This is it, folks. If Eclipse wants to come back, they got to go on a 2-break run.
Uh-oh. Offside.
Offside was called, yeah.
Offside signaled by Eclipse. It's the second one. So, oof. A Mofo getting the disc at half field.
Caleb Neufeld finds a slashing Nemechek. Mofo, this is the point for a national title, folks. This is the action you're looking for. Pollitt going across the field. Neufeld finds Marshall instead. Defense cheers from the Eclipse women's team, trying to usher on their boys. And McKibben with the flying block.
Massive block. He saw that all the way. Marshall kind of telegraphing that one. Eclipse able to battle back after giving up that difficult field position off the offside call.
McKibben with the under. This break would tie the game and force the ever-exciting Universe point. Fan going up line. Reset over to O'Donnell, but there's a call of a stall down.
Well, glad you saw that, Theo. It's getting a little noisy and crowded down on that sideline. You see everybody just on their feet, bouncing up and down. This high-pressure situation, can these players continue to demonstrate that maturity and that poise with so much pressure and excitement building right now? So as that disc returns to O'Donnell, I believe the stall count was either overruled or retracted.
Look at the sidelines here, folks. This is exciting stuff. It's a national title on the line in the Junior Open Division. High throw snagged by Woods, making his way onto this defensive line. Looking for McGibbon. That throw saved by Louis Ying. Just past the brick mark for Eclipse. Lefty over to Fan. Fan less than 10 yards away, directing traffic. Louis Ying with the save. Over to McCall. Travel called, and now McCall will reset things. All the way around, give and go action. Finds Fan. Fan with some fakes. And that's caught by McCall. That's going to be a contentious one we'll have to look at after, perhaps. Fan spinning around with these fakes, really working Turner here and has the speed advantage. Especially in these close spaces. He's going to go up line on Turner.
Off that foul call, Theo, I want to rewind a little bit. From my perspective up here, it seemed that none of the observers were in position to see it. I believe that disc that was bobbled on the ground certainly wasn't in control when it was resting on the ground. So I think Eclipse getting away with one here.
O'Donnell finds Wood. Wood up the line for O'Donnell, and that throw slicing into the turf.
You can't see it, folks. Theo is collecting himself off the ground. We are getting hype up here. It is exciting. We will try and be coherent for you. It is the energy here is electric.
Neufeld high throw. Nemechek with the save. What concentration. Turner. This is where the players got to keep their nerves in check. I know it's exciting, but offense trying to go to work your offensive point for Mofo. Pollitt has Turner going deep. Not going to throw it. Settling over to Mann. Mann going to call a timeout.
Nemechek getting Mann's attention right away, signaling the timeout. A TMF being awarded to what looked to be Winnipeg. I'm not sure what. If we get a chance, we'll ask.
We'll use the break to find that out, but right now, this is an exciting conclusion. Don't go away. We'll be right back. If you're just tuning in, where have you been? Because this is the Junior Open final, exciting action. Mofo in dark. Mann gonna tap the disc in. Daniel Mann, number 11. They're up 12-11 right now, and the cap is to 13. So if they score, they would win the title. Eclipse in white out of Vancouver, British Columbia.
O'Donnell hanging in the back for Eclipse right now. Poaching to make sure there's no strike play.
Neufeld going deep, looking for Turner. There it is, national championship for Winnipeg.
Mofo bringing in the gold. That's a win for Winnipeg in the juniors, complementing the win in the senior division. What a game by Mofo. Theo, Eclipse was the favorite coming into this tournament. They had lots of coverage ahead of time about how well they were going to do, and they did great. But Mofo, the energy in this game, the focus, just seemed to be a new level that we had not seen from them before, and they pull out the win.
Another national title for the Mofo program. What a game, folks. 13-11 the score line. We got to collect our breath here in the booth because that was exciting, and we don't want you to go away because in a few minutes we'll have the women's final between Vortex and Eclipse, an all BC battle. We're hoping for another exciting affair here because this one sure was. Mofo takes home the title. They defeat Eclipse 13-11. We'll be right back.